thing. And Mr. Hubert will remind you that we've reduced taxes every year we've been in office. So there were somewhat over $700,000 when we took office. Some people remember I said I wouldn't take a salary till we got this down to zero. I was hoping we could get it down to zero this year so I could begin to take a salary, but we haven't been able to do that. But we have dramatically cut it. Now the reason we haven't been able to do that is because our non-tax revenues have fallen 50%. They're about $4 million in 2008, and they're approximately 2.4, 2.5, maybe $6.6 million today. It's a dramatic fall off. Now, what is this? This is, if they had made the expenditures, just go back to the previous slide. So if expenditures had increased in this fashion to $6.4 million at the 6.8% rate, the next slide, and you had the fall off in non-tax revenues, the taxes would have had to be $3.4 million, right? So if they would have had to spend $3.4 million in taxes to sustain the level of expenditures that they were maintaining. Everyone with me? What are we at, Bishop? $300,000. So even the town attorney can tell you 3.4 as compared with 300,000, your taxes would have been 10 times higher. 10 times higher. It's all about good government. If your taxes are too high, go out and vote. We got a 25% voter participation rate. If your taxes are too high, it's your own fault. Because 75% of you aren't voting. And you need to take the time and put good people in office who are going to be good fiduciaries for your money. You get the government you deserve. Okay, sorry. So look, this is just a recap of last year. We started off, again, with a very difficult years, right? We have 80% of our revenues are non-tax revenues. It's unusual. So we only can, if we want to increase our budget 2% and under the governor's cap, we would basically only be able to increase our expenditures by $6,500. So we were between a rock and a hard place. Here's the non-tax revenues. They fallen from $3.7 to $2.3 million. We increased in health and employment costs. We had a $1.7 million adverse turnaround. So what did Mr. Arcaro do? He said, Joe, we need to make some tough decisions. He said, we need to reduce operating expenses by $450,000. And unfortunately, we all know that we basically had a very painful decision to make. No one wanted to reduce our headcount. No one wanted to reduce the full number of employees we had, but we did. We took the hit and basically still needed to find $350,000. So we reduced, we rationalized town services last year. And what else did we do? We began to sell off Town Hall, the parking lot, and the garage. Business as usual was not sustainable. We would have had an unprecedented deficit of $1 million and 40% of our budget. So we had to radically restructure operations. So we basically outsourced operations and saved just under $300,000. But the big thing we did was we sold Town Hall. So I want to congratulate the team. And again, the town employees and everybody for working with us. We can't wait to get into our new abode in April. But at the end of the day, we sold over $2.5 million in assets last year, surplus assets. And we're going to reduce operating expenses at the same time. So we increased our fund balance by $1.6 million and reduced our operating expenses by $245,000. So, what are our goals for 2014? That was a brief recap. Successfully move by May of 2014. By May of 2014. When are we moving? May of 2014. There's no move on that, Mr. Hubert. Now, in 2010, we put together a terrific report that looked at how much every constituent in the town of Rye is paying in taxes to the county, to the village, to the schools, to the town, and the sewers. And Mr. Arcaro came to me and said, Joe, we need to update that report. And I think what you're going to find in that report is unfortunately, well, we all know what you're going to find. Taxes have continued to increase in most other municipalities and schools. And what's happened to property values, Mr. Burns? They've come down. So the value of your property vis-a-vis your taxes has only gone up. That's worrisome. Very worrisome to me. We need to fundamentally change the way we govern ourselves. And you're going to see that, and I can't wait for the Mr. Arcaro to update that 2014 report. We also want to, refocus our Model American Community Initiatives. I got to say, last Friday I went to the Poverty Summit, organized by Latino Network, NAACP,
and Community Voices Heard.
And, as a Republican, while I probably would disagree with some of the macro conclusions, what was interesting for me was, ultimately, there's a lot of people in our community suffering. There's a lot of people in our community struggling to get by. And I think we can do more here at the town to help them out. And so one of the things we're doing, Mr. Arcaro and Mr. Thomas are completing a study of our food pantries. In fact, I went Sunday to St. Peter's Church. Father Hilario is doing fantastic work. And basically they provide a free lunch every Sunday. And he gave a nice event to thank the volunteers, and he asked me, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go. But ultimately, there are a number of groups out there providing food to our community, and we want to sort of help them see, one, find out who's doing it, two, see if we can do it perhaps more efficiently. Who's doing what to whom? How can we coordinate our efforts? And are we addressing the need? Are there more hungry people out there than we're addressing? How do we measure that? So these are all difficult issues. And again, Mr. Arcaro has assured me that he will have an absolutely wonderful report that will be groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
In terms of thinking about that. The last couple of things, we want to spearhead, we want to punch above our weight. The ongoing local municipal reorganization. Outsourcing initiatives we did last year to continue to reduce costs. And the other thing is town dissolution. We had a very constructive meeting with the Town Dissolution Committee last Friday. As we all know, we put that on hold for 6 months or so. We're hopeful we have a solution for Rye Neck. And ultimately we want to, encourage the continued sharing of services. We have 2 new mayors. We have new mayor in Rybrook, new mayor in Portchester. So we brought them up to speed in terms of where we are. And I'm hopeful that if we can begin to show some of the success we've had with outsourcing of operations, sharing of services, we can still generate real savings as part of our restructuring. So that's the goals for 2014. Is that the end? No. Yeah. Look. Some of our communities are going to be forced to have a 20% tax increase according to their auditors. Now, how many, raise your hand if you want a 20% tax increase? We're already in a horrifically difficult situation. Again, I don't believe that most people understand the severity of the fiscal pinch. So this is, again, more talk about restructuring, basically. And we want to be at the forefront of that effort. One other important point. We're looking to outsource the operations of Rye Town Park. We voted in the meeting before tonight to put out a new RFP, and we've hired a firm that's got a list of about 200 people that they're going to contact. We would love to have you come in and run Rye Town Park. Mr. Newers, Councilman Newers did an absolutely fantastic capital expenditure study 2 years ago about the CapEx needs. There hasn't been any capital expenditures in the park for really, my guess, for over 50 years. We put 1.4, you'll remember, we put $1.4 million into the roof, of which $400,000 was grant monies. And I call it the roof to nowhere. The building continues to deteriorate. Unless we do something with that facility, it will be an absolute sacrilege. And so we're trying this outsourcing effort. If it doesn't, we're going to have to come up with the money. But I'm not going to spend 2 more years in this and leave that building the way it is. There's absolutely no way I'm prepared to do that. So, so what we're going to try to do is outsource the thing. Yeah. Okay. And then obviously, Rye Town Park governance, what we need to do on this board, we're going to break into executive session in a second to discuss the lawsuit related to Rye Town Park. But looking forward, there's a larger set of issues with Rye City. If we dissolve the town, we all know there's a 6-person board that runs Rye Town Park. 2 from the Town of Rye, Mayor Portchester, Mayor Rye Brook, and 2 from the City of Rye. How are we going to change that governance structure going forward if the town were to dissolve? What happens with our 2 seats? And I obviously want this board to talk about that. I think, is that it? That's it. So look, I won't be here in the February meeting, so I wanted to get the goals out there in front of us. We like to hold ourselves to account. We want you to judge us in terms of what we say we're going to do and what we accomplished. I'm thrilled with the terrific year we had last year, and I'm hopeful that we can move forward on these issues and really take the forefront at being known as the government in New York State that's committed to restructuring, committed to reducing the tax burden. And I got to say, we're all here. We all go to Crawford Park, go to Rye Town Park. We reduced cut expenditures really in half. The tax burden couldn't be as much as 10 times greater if we hadn't taken office. And my gosh darn it, I got to say, I know our town assessment is far better than what it was. I know our certiorari fund is far better than it was. I know our interim is far better than it was. I think our parks are better maintained. So we've developed and provided, in my view, obviously I'm talking about a book, a far better level of service at half the cost and 10 times tax savings. So I want to thank everyone in the Town of Rye, everyone in the employees. You should pat yourself on the back. The employees who worked with us night and day, terrific representatives, terrific public servants. I can't thank you working through all these difficult years with us. The team, from town attorney, the town controller, the team, Mr. Nowotnik, everybody's worked with us, Mark McCarty, and of course the town board. So I want to thank everybody for all the hard work, and let's make 2014 a successful year. With Mr. Nardi's help, I'm confident we'll do that. Thank you very much. And with that, can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Discuss litigation.
Discuss litigation.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And then we'll come back for resolution Z. Mr. Noto?
We can do that. I don't.
We don't even need a resolution Z?
I don't think we need a resolution Z, but
Litigation?
If we do, we'll come back.
right. Well, we can do it at the next meeting.
Sorry. Where's Tom? One other thing. I apologize. I apologize. The most important thing of today, Mr. Schubert would have shot me if I hadn't remembered. Sorry. The most important thing for today is we have a proclamation for the mayor of Sandy Springs, Georgia. Now this is a first, as I know. Why do we have a proclamation for the mayor of Sandy Springs, Georgia? Because Mayor Eva Galambos has given us the vision and foresight on how to really run government. Sandy Springs, Georgia is part of Fulton County, Atlanta. And Fulton County ran all of that county area until Sandy Springs incorporated. And when they incorporated, what did Sandy Springs do, Town Clerk Vespia? Did they go out and hire a gazillion friends, give jobs to the boys? No. They privatized, they outsourced the whole of government operations. In a single contract, they outsourced the whole thing, except for fire, emergency services, fire and police. And then they went 5 years down the road and did the same thing again at tremendous savings with 5 different contacts. So I want to thank Mayor Eva Galambos for her vision, her insight, and her leadership in government restructuring. And I'm very hopeful that we can take that same kind of governmental restructuring here in New York. So, Mayor Galambos, thank you so much.
Galambos.
Okay.
She's not here to receive her